Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Power Platform Developer Tool Office Hours. By the way, they're open floor. We'll just do a first half of this office hours. We'll share the information introducing, we'll share our agenda, we'll share the updates from the PAC CLI perspective. PAC CLI is the Power Platform CLI if you're new to the acronym PAC CLI. We'll talk about some new capabilities that are in preview. So we want to hear more from you on that part. And we have our colleagues that are going to help get this office hours a success with all your questions, queries, ideas. And we'll also talk about some of the already submitted questions through our link. Now, why we are here in this office hours, the first half, as I'm going to describe the reason for it, these office hours. Power Platform developer tools. If you're new to it, they're a way to automate your common build task and deployment task. So this is what you utilize these developer tools for Power Platform. Why you are here. We want to hear your ideas. We want to hear your challenges. We want to hear your roadblocks, and we want to help you overcome those challenges and the new things that are happening in Power Platform world from the developer perspective. We want to discuss that. I want to make sure no NDA material will be discussed in these office hours. So I would request please refrain from asking the NDA material related questions. And this is strictly for Power Platform related office hours. So if you have something outside of it, we would be happy to take it and let it forward. But we may not be able to answer those questions outside of Power Platform. With that, we hold our office hours third Thursday of every month, except US holidays, between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Pacific time. I want to hear from you if it's difficult time, something that is going to be able to adjust for folks who are unable to attend. We will look into this, and we want to accommodate them as well. One thing I want to make sure that this is not connected or coupled with, our office hours are not coupled with the release of PAC CLI. So we want to make sure that not just PAC CLI, but there are other topics that are discussed in these office hours. But when there is a release, we will share the updates from Power Platform CLI. There are other sections of it. We'll discuss those. And then a couple of links that are showing on your screen, you can go and submit your queries, questions, ideas, and share your thoughts on the community. With that, this is how you can sign up for a developer plan in Power Platform. And with this developer plan, you can get up to 3 environments. Those are your built environments. And then that's I'm just going to keep it short. For the release cadence, I want to bring it to our community that we are moving from monthly release of Power Platform CLI, PAC CLI, to as needed, or when there are issues, when there are bugs, when there are new needed features, we will definitely be providing the release. So, which is why I mentioned earlier, we are decoupling the office hours from PAC CLI releases, but we welcome any suggestions. For developer program, there is a blog that was shared for some of the limitations recently happened. I will share the link in chat after our conversation here. Feel free to go ahead and add your comments, questions, reasoning why some of the limitations you want to remove, but these are some of the changes that are going to happen. So we'll share that. You want to learn more about PAC CLI, these are some of the links or provide feedback. They're listed right on your screen. Moving along. So PAC CLI, the newest release 1.30.7, that you can get your release updated from depending on how you have it installed it. So if you installed using VS Code, your extension, just go ahead and update in the terminal with the PAC install latest. If you installed it using .NET Tool, you can go ahead and update that. If you have an MSI install on a Windows platform, you can also go ahead and get the latest from there. Further down, I will talk about there's an update in for our documentation for the type of installs and some of the limitations in certain installs. So I'll touch base a bit after that. Some changes that are in the recent release, there were some issues with the PAC's PCF push that have been fixed, and one of our community member, I will share this in one of our submitted questions section coming after this. And they were having difficulty. They were getting errors on MacBook, and to requesting him to go ahead and download the latest version of PAC CLI and try, and this should fix it. We have made some changes with the admin noun. You can go ahead and take a look at some of those changes. Given that it's a short one, I'm just a short amount of time for our office hours, I don't want to go in too much detail, but looking forward to your feedback. Copilot, that noun, we had it prior to 1.29 release, and we also had Power Pages or virtual agents or PVA. That has been renamed into Copilot, but the previous Copilot, where you were able to use the AI Builder model, you are still able to use it. However, within the Copilot noun, you will use one of the models. And then there's some plugin support that we have changes. There's some updates on that. Again, I will share the link where you can go ahead and read the notes about it and share your thoughts. As for authorization profiles, that is something I would like you to take a grasp on it, because there were Dataverse type of authorization profile. When you're connected to the environment, there is a universal profile and such. Now we're moving towards universal profiles only. So that is the update. A couple of the links that are on the screen, I will share after this discussion, where we have done some videos. Daniel, our friend, he has created a video. Marcel, my coworker, he has created a video about it. So that will get you started, give you more understanding about authorization profiles. And the last bullet here about the Power Virtual Agents, which has been renamed to Copilot Studio, which is one of the, in the second bullet, one of the nouns that I mentioned. With that, let's, I'm just trying to wrap these things up for you quickly, so I'll give you time to share your ideas, and we'll have open discussion. Again, this was shared PowerFX capability in Power Platform CLI using REPL or using the input file. These are some of the steps. I'm resharing this. It's in preview. We want to look we want to get different scenarios from you. We want to know what scenario you are having and what scenario you would like to see, and why would you like to see that. Feel free to share that in chat as well, and we want to get some voting on, do other people, other community members, other makers, do they see those challenges as well? We want to be able to rate that. Moving on, let's go on to the next. All right, so again, I'm going to do a little 5-minute demo for the Copilot. And let me do that really quick. I'm going to change the sharing here, give you some idea how to utilize this. Okay. Can you guys all see my screen? Give me a thumbs up. All right, excellent. So with that, I'm using VS Code and using the Power Platform extension within VS Code. And I'm just going to go through and perform some of the steps and give you some idea how you can utilize it today. So first thing I do is check the version that I have for Power Platform CLI. If I need to have an updated, I would do that update. Otherwise, keep moving on. Here, remember I mentioned there's a Copilot noun. You can see that, and the model is the one that was previously used in Copilot noun, and now you see a lot of other verbs here, and that is a difference. You'll just have to add model. With this model, you can go ahead and list the different models that are connected to, that are available in your environment. You can use the predict and prepare fetch, like fetch XML. So verifying how my what environment I am connected to. If I need to use a different environment, I'll just use the -- environment property with this. I list the different models that are available to me. And the next step is to try one of these models and give you some samples, give you some idea how one would use. So let's go with that. Let's see, could we do this? No, this is it. Okay, do we zoom in a little more here? Okay, okay. We do setting. Zoom to. Okay, is this a little bit better, Ross? Okay, great. So moving on, we use the predict, and you see how I'm using the help to list all the different properties, all the different parameters that I can use with predict. I just say, hey, that's just one of the sentiments I wanted to get from this predict model, right? Now, here's a sample for putting the prompt, putting the text, natural language. You want to get some fetch XML off of this natural language. Sorry, okay. So here I am creating a fetch XML, an XML model based on a table that I have in Dataverse to show the loans and the information for if the loan ID, if the loan value is more than 3,000, greater than 3,000, show me the loan ID and the business name that has this particular loan. So I have this XML, I saved in the XML file, as you can see at the top, and I did the listing. I'm using the same XML file, and this is the loan entity that is shown on top of your screen. That is the table that I'm using out of Dataverse. Once I run that, it shows me the business name, the loan ID, and the balance that they have. Now, remember I said that I'm resharing the PowerFX REPL, which stands for Read, Evaluate, Print Loop. We do have an alias. Instead of you filling out a full PowerFX, you can just use PFX. So this is just quickly showing you different different functions available, and we showed how what are some of the different type of data we have. So moving forward, here we want to prepare fetch, and we're going to have a separate XML file that we can use um, on moving forward if we need to, and we can modify these files if we want to specify. Okay, it seems like someone was talking.
Your level of responsibility is diminished because she's there.
Okay. Hi, Larry. Could you mute yourself? Oh, there you go. Thank you. All right. So here quickly we build the XML, and we're going to use that XML to show our results with a modified. We were going to modify from 3,000 greater than 3,000 to less than that. See how we can get all the needed data from query the data from our table. Now we're changing the limit to 2,000, and we'll run the same. We save it. We run the same XML and fetch that data, and it'll do that. All right, as you can see the results. So that's a small sample of our Copilot model that you can use. Let's get our back to our presentation. We have Mr. Durrow here, Scott Durrow. I want to introduce Scott Durrow here. Hi, Scott. Thank you for joining us.
Hey everyone.
And he has some news to share. So he has he has a lab where he is using custom connectors using Web API. So and he's going to provide some details here. We want you to try it out. Scott, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Shefkat. It's great to be here, and I love seeing everyone, old friends and new faces as well. So yeah, so what I've done here is I've created a lab that you might be interested in. And the reason is that the reason I've done this is that there's a lot of great content out there which shows you how to create custom connectors and shows you how to. Oh, let me share that again because there we go. Yeah, can you see that now? Okay. Yeah, everyone can see that. Good. Yeah, so there's a lot of great content out there on Learn, on showing you how to do various different things like create custom connectors and create Web API and using the PAC CLI and all those kind of things. But I wanted to create a lab that did some things a little bit in a kind of a joined up fashion, right? So this lab actually takes you all the way through from creating a .NET 8 minimal Web API, and it's like using an in-memory database for orders just for testing purposes. It uses a little bit of GitHub Copilot as well, if you've got that, and also sets up like Enter ID authentication on that Web API, because I think authentication is one of those things that quite often gets missed. And because it's like demo, and we think, oh, I should make it open for everyone to use. So it tries it a little bit more real. And so the Web API is secured using an Enter ID, and then it also uses app roles as well. So you can then secure various different endpoints using those app roles, and then assign those to users or groups. And then also, again, this is another thing that gets missed often, is that it's using environment variables to manage the authentication profile for your custom connector, and uses Azure Key Vault to store the secret for your Enter ID. And so that way you can then deploy that custom connector between different environments and then be able to configure it accordingly. So you don't have to have the same enter ID across everything and the same secret, right? So it makes it a lot easier to deploy. And then there's information here about using Postman to test it, and creating a Canvas app to test it, using the PAC CLI to scaffold that up. So there's lots of stuff in here. You can kind of come in here and maybe do it end to end. But the thing I really wanted to point out, which is segues to what you saw a minute ago around using the REPL command. So in here there is actually there's a script, and one of the things about this lab is that it's all scripted. So there's nothing that you do manually inside Azure. Everything is scripted. So if you kind of come down here, you can see that let's just scroll down all the way to the parts where we start to do things in Azure. So we're using the Azure CLI, logging in there, and we're using the PAC as CLI as well, and so it gives you that ability to automate. And if you're like me, I like to be able to know exactly how to do things, so using the CLI, so that I can do it again and again repeatedly without having to worry about going into the UI. One of the parts of the lab does quite a lot. It sets up a Enter ID application for the API, and it also creates a set of environment variables. Now, previously, if you were going to do this, you might have had to do this using the Maker portal to do it, and or you might have used PowerShell. And so what I thought would be great is to show an example of using the PAC PFX, the REPL command, to run some PowerFX using a PowerShell script. So you can see here that I've got a script here that's being created out of string. So it's a function that returns a PowerFX script, and you pass in some variables here, and then it uses the string interpolation here to actually populate that string, and then just returns that string. Now, if I do a search for PAC PFX, so here is that PAC PFX command being run. And so what happens is, here as an example, it's just simply appending the script to this PFX script using this that function that we just looked at, passing in the various different parameters. And then it runs that PowerFX script to do the creation of those environment variables. So this is an example of how you can use PowerFX to automate things in a very easy way when you're connecting to Dataverse, rather than having to kind of connect to Dataverse using sort of the old way of using the PowerFX data commands. And another point of interest here is that you can see that we're creating an environment variable with a key vault subscription, a key vault value here. So we're not actually specifying the secret in the code. We're just simply pointing it at a key vault. And actually, in the lab, it has an automatic script that goes and creates the Enter ID registration and the client secret. And the script will actually put that into a key vault that you created as part of that script as well. And then so that's why it knows all the details necessary to parameterize that PowerFX script. So that was really all I wanted to show. Don't want to spend too much time. You kind of open the floor for people to ask questions and for their things that are top of their minds. But there is an aka.ms link, which we'll put on the screen in a second. And yeah, I'd love to hear your feedback on how you get on running the lab. That's all from me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Excellent. That is some great work. All right. So with that, I'm just gonna I have one more slide before we open the floor. And that I am going to go ahead and share here. Okay. Yeah, these were some of the, can you guys see my screen? Thumbs up, yes. Yeah, we'll share the Scott's link as well. Can you guys see my screen? Ross had a question.
I just popped the link into the lab, but it would be good to put it on screen for the recording.
Excellent. I will do that. And okay, well, let's do this. Okay, can you guys see my screen?
Yep.
All right, excellent. So I will be posting the link on the screen as well. So at the moment, let's really quickly go by the submitted questions we had. There were couple questions that were related to Power Automate. There's a policies related, DLP policies for Power Automate, if there's a way to hide connectors, and is there audit report to on policy violations when someone is using a block connector in the flow. And also the question number 5, need to copy data from one Excel sheet to another in a single tab using credentials using Power Automate Flow. Those have been forwarded to our Power Automate team, and they will follow up with Raja and Ryan. Now, for the detailed explanation of new features and best practices from Ryan, thank you, Ryan. You have been submitting a number of questions. We love that. That is great. Now, for the best practices, we will be sharing our samples repo where we will have some best practices on certain features, but it is work in progress. So yes, we will share that. As for new features, keep an eye on our blog, and we are constantly updating as things come along. Now, as to can we convert existing tenant to a developer tenant? No, you cannot take the existing tenant to a developer tenant, but you would need a new developer tenant for your developer plan. Now, keep me honest here, Scott and Matthew. I would appreciate if I'm on the right track, or if there's something I'm missing, please keep me updated here.
Yeah, so the question is actually kind of weird. There isn't such a thing. When you use the term, I don't know if Ryan's on this call because this is an alt QA, but if you're using the term developer tenant, I'm assuming that you're talking more down the path of how we have Office developer tenants and Azure developer tenants. Is Ryan here on the call?
Let's see.
The answer
Ryan.
is no, then we can just move on.
Okay. All right. And the next one is having issues when running PAC PCF push on a MacBook. As I mentioned earlier, that if by Chandra, if you go ahead and update to the latest version, it should work. If there's still issue, we would like to know a little bit more about some details about what type of issue you're running into. If you have the log file from your PAC CLI session, that would really help us. So touch base with us offline, and we can take care of that as well. And but the latest version has some updates for PCF push, and that should fix most of your issues. So we covered number 5, and the last one, how to display SharePoint list items in Power Pages. For that, I will share a link from one of our community links that was shared. So if there's any additional questions, we would be happy to answer. Just touch base with us offline. So those are kind of last of it. And where's my mouse? Okay. Where did it go? Okay, so we're opening the floor. Please raise your hand, or if you want to come off mute, bring your question, ideas, concerns. We would love to see that. Eric, go ahead, please.
Hey, good evening, good afternoon. Thanks for taking the question. We are seeing an issue with deploying SSRS reports as solutions where the report does not get updated after the solution's been deployed. Wondering if that's a known issue, any workarounds or guidance that you can provide would be awesome.
Managed solution or unmanaged solution?
Managed.
That sounds like a bug. Is this a report that your team has previously shipped?
Yes,
Okay, you're not trying to modify one of our platform reports.
correct.
Okay, that actually sounds like a bug. That should get open through the support channel and get investigated
Okay.
through that path.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Thank you for
Yeah,
that. And if I
there's
could
no
ask-
known issue there.
Okay, thank you. And one more quick one, maybe looking for guidance on taking over an existing environment. One of our clients recently moved to us for their support. How do we take all the unmanaged code that's in their production environment and push it into a development environment so that we can maintain the existing solutions that were unmanaged?
So this is actually a pretty involved conversation,
Yep.
and something that is probably not appropriate for this vehicle, though I will give you kind of the high points that you should walk down. First, I would take a copy of that environment and move, essentially copy that to a sandbox,
Okay.
and then work to get your solution in the right shape, because if it's what it sounds like it is, there's pieces going to be everywhere.
Yep.
So get things organized into deployable units and then export those as managed. Take a backup of your production environment and then deploy the managed components in with the convert to manage flag, which will force it to turn the stuff in production to managed components.
Okay, cool. That
those-
convert to manage flag is CLI.
It should be available in the CLI.
Okay, cool.
Those are the high points. There's lots and lots and lots of detail that go in there. Do make sure that you're backing up and be prepared to restore at any step along the way. Okay.
Yes, understood. And is there any guidance on that? We searched. Like, is there any knowledge base articles?
There is not, because it's almost always a case by case situation.
Okay, cool. That's what I thought. I appreciate that confirmation.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Matt. Please feel free to come off mute if there are any questions.
I had a question about what Scott was showing. I think that's awesome to be able to actually execute the PowerFX code from the command line like that. Is that sort of the idea going forward? Like if you want to do any sort of ad hoc, API related calls from the command line, that we're going to leverage PowerFX and that particular command to do that, and then. Is there any way to get, is there a way to get responses back from that command, like a payload back from that command if it returns something?
So PowerFX in general, yes.
Right.
In the going forward direction, the investment that we put into PowerFX and bringing through in the various channels, that's our goal for ad hoc stuff. We did have a PowerShell module for well, it still works for the most part, but it has not been something we brought forward to .NET Core, so it is not cross-platform just yet. Our intent is to invest in the PowerFX module unless there becomes a compelling need for a PowerShell equivalent that gets you access to the raw API. The PowerShell module was actually developed, although it wasn't heavily tested. And we may, underbar, may publish it in the GitHub repo for the Dataverse Service Client, which is actually what it's attached to. So if there's enough interest in it, we would do that, but we'd prefer you to go down the path of PowerFX first.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Matt, and thank you, Michael. Michael, it's good to see you.
Good to see you too, Shafkat.
Yeah, of
I've missed you.
course. We'll stay in touch.
Mhm.
All right. Any other questions? What I would like to see is what scenarios would you like to see in Power FX capability in PAC CLI? How do you use it today, if you use it? And if you're not using it, what would what is the reason you are not taking the opportunity to test out your Power FX expressions in REPL? All right.
I,
You
I
guys are
would
fairly
say,
quiet today. Go ahead.
can you hear me? This is Larry.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't use Power FX very much in any of the work that I do, but I have tried to explore it in the REPL, and that's been my question. I'm not really sure what I would want to do with it, and what I could do with it from that standpoint. You know, I was just playing with it just now, and I typed accounts, and it gave me all the accounts, but it gave me like a 2-column table with a
Mhm.
bunch of ellipses, and I'm like, okay, I don't know that that's helpful. It might be good for me to learn Power FX, how to restrict the columns or get the right number of columns. But outside of that, that's why I'm not using it. Is I'm not sure what I need it for. But it seems like a fun toy that I want to play with. So that's just my comment for now.
Great, great. No, this is great feedback. So Power FX, if you look at their different formulas, they're Excel-like formulas. And when you are doing account, this is a way for you to manage data in your Dataverse entities, right? Dataverse data, you're doing any of the CRUD operations, which is create, read, update, delete. You can if you type help, obviously with a capital H, if you type help in the REPL, which is the interactive shell, it will give you a list of formulas that are available. We're always updating those formulas. And at the bottom of that help, you have a reference link for you can go and check out how to use each of those formulas. Now, if you want to see more columns in your query, so basically when you typed accounts table was queried in the current environment you're connected to. And it gives you first 10 rows of that that table. If you want to get more, there are other formulas that you can use to query more, or if you want to query, for example, with a say in a name column, you have a lot of records for John or Joe, for example. So you can specify a formula to use that table where your column has word Joe in it, and it'll pull up all those records. You can limit it that way. So basically, it's a Excel-like formulas, if you're familiar with Excel.
Right. And I'm fairly familiar with Power FX. I use
Mhm.
OData a lot in the
Okay.
browser when I just want to pull data out in JSON, and I guess that's what I'm thinking. If I wanted to pull some data out of Dataverse and do something with it, the REPL
Yeah.
really is going to type it to the console and not give me the data I'd want to do. It's like a one-off thing. So, and I missed Scott's demo, which I think he went through this. I had to step away, so I'm going to go back and watch the recording. But
Excellent.
but thanks.
So yeah, watch the recording. Thank you so much. But if there's any more feedback you have, we'd love to hear more, and we'd love to help you out on that part as well and get you onboarded. Hi, Krishna.
Hey, Nizar, sorry, I'm more into the Canvas side and more into the model driven with the Dataverse. Honestly, never got a chance to use this CLI. But however, we have a peculiar requirement now that to scan or export all the Dataverse table data into Excel file and then push it into a SharePoint document library because we wanted to scan the NPI data. The sensitive data in that. So in order to do that, we are planning that. So is this CLI programming will help to export the data? If it is so, would you just mind to give some pointers, like where to start with? Also, is there any special components or modules we need to install as part of this? Could you just help me on that?
Sure. So there are several ways of doing that, and Matt and Scott, keep me honest here. I'll do my best to answer Krishna's question here. There are several ways of doing that, doing the update of data. Now, this tool or this capability shouldn't. It's not recommended for data exports when we have a large amount of data from Dataverse. Now, when I say there are many ways of doing that, you can use this capability. Remember, it is in preview, and you can do a lot of updates to your data using the REPL, which is the interactive shell. If you have your set of expressions, PowerFX expressions built, then you can put those expressions in a file and execute as a single file in a second verb of the PowerFX is run with a file name when you give it a file. So that will run all your expressions at the same time. Now, that's one way of doing it for the Excel part of it.
Probably. I failed to place my question or a query. My query is I need to export the SharePoint, sorry, data versus data from those tables on a periodic way, say like once in a week or so. I need to export that. It's not that adding the data. I need to export the data. I agree. Yes, if the data is used, it is not a good idea to export. But unfortunately, we try to use the Purview. Purview licensing is like damn expensive. So it is like not a viable option for my client. So the option is using the PowerShell. We figured out a way using the PowerShell. It is just exporting data into Excel file. So just wanted to ensure that this CLI way will help better, or like it will make life easy, because when we export the data using PowerShell, we need to rely on runbooks to run those PowerShell scripts and execute that. This and all is there, but my point is like, is there any other better way? Is the CLI gives any better way? That's my point. I absolutely not. I
So,
do not want to add the data. That's my point.
so let me ask a couple of questions about the volume of data. How much data are you talking about? Like millions of rows, thousands of rows?
Probably down the line of a year or two, it will definitely be a million of rows.
Okay, is this a constant reoccurring thing?
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
growing
is
data. Today it could be thousands. Today it could be thousands. Probably down the line of 6 months, it could be hundreds of thousands. But definitely after 2 years, it could be millions down the line, because it is not like one table. It is going to be each and every table in each and every environment. So it's
Yeah.
going to be iteration at the tenant level, get all the environments, go to each and every environment and push the data and ensure that there is no data loss prevention or the sensitive data in that. So that's what
So-
is the
Yeah.
plan.
So exporting the data and managing the data for this, just again, having dealt with something like this, exporting and managing that data externally essentially opens up a threat attack because if you do happen to do it, you're replicating that data out someplace else off the secured location.
No.
so-
We are not pushing out. We are just doing into we are uploading into a SharePoint document library with the help of
And-
with the help of.
And that's in a different security boundary in a different control sequence using a different, essentially a different
Yeah,
compliance
that is
boundary.
already tightly
Okay.
secured and
So
tightly
the-
monitoring on that area.
The,
So we are safe on that area.
the point I'm trying to get at though is that if you're trying to export a lot of data out of the system just for this purpose, and you're doing this on a regular basis, you've really got three choices. First, don't do that. Scan the system in place. Okay. The APIs that we have on the system allow you to read the data that's in the platform. Okay.
How do we
So-
scan the Dataverse data? There is no documentation out there. We have spent like hours together, days together on that.
So
And what is the
Depending
answer we
on-
got is what is the answer we got from Microsoft itself is like, this one Purview. Purview licensing is like huge.
So the Purview system works with our API framework and works essentially based on what we call a data replica sitting on top of data lake that's behind Dataverse.
Mhm.
You don't have to use that, okay? And what you're and I'm going to sound a little kind of irritated here a little bit, but what you're paying for with Purview is all the work that we put in to make that work, and then the rule engine and everything else that goes on top of it. Now you can go choose to do that yourself, but that means that you now have to do the work to write the query system to go scan the records, look for changes, compare the changes, and that's the in-place look that you're doing. You can replicate Dataverse tables out into Data Lake. That's a feature set that we have, but you have to bring your own Data Lake to do that. And we manage pushing data out. It doesn't come back though. That's a one-way push. We push out only. Okay. The second way to do it is to use that data lake export mechanic and then scan that data in tables. Scan that data using the Custo system or the big data query engine that we have. And then
Okay,
the third way.
Matthew, I really appreciate your patience to explain all those things. I just sent a message, hi message, outside this. I do not want to deviate the main agenda of this. I see that you have a profound knowledge on that area. I'll connect with you offline, and if it is required, I'll come through my office channel and I'll schedule a meeting with you. I have one point of contact for my office, so I'll connect. I'll update him stating that schedule a meeting with you, and then we will just see like what are all the other options you have for us.
Sure, no worries. But
Excellent.
Sorry,
again,
don't
that's why
don't
Purview
get me wrong.
exists.
I do not want don't get me wrong. I do not want others to feel like he hijacked the meeting. I do not want that to happen. Sorry.
No worries. Okay.
It's a great point. Yeah, touch base offline and we'll be able to help you out. Yeah, thank you, Matt. All right, so we have a last 4 minutes. Any questions, concerns, issues that you're having that you'd like to address? Reach us offline if you want, or in the last 3 minutes, please raise your hand or come off mute, please. So with that, fairly quiet crowd here today. All right, so feel free to join us via Discord if you're a fan of Discord. We're looking for your feedback. Please do provide your feedback, ideas, and share your points where you'd like to see things improved. We would love to get your feedback. We will be posting the recording on our YouTube channel in next 24 to 48 hours. There's a link that you can go and look at our existing videos that we have. Unless there are more questions, we have the last 2 minutes. I want to thank everyone for taking time and joining us for these hours. All right. If no questions, we would be happy to see you in our next office hours next month, third Thursday of the month. All right, I hear someone. If not, we should be good to go.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for sharing everything every month.
Thanks, all.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day, evening.